Hello and welcome to this cybersecurity show. My name is Pip Blake, I'm the Managing Director of Disruptive Cyber Group, and today I'm here with Henry Ayers from Demon. Henry, do you want to give a quick introduction to yourself and tell us a little bit about Demon?
Sure. So I'm Henry Ayers, obviously. I've been in nearly 3 decades, I realised the other day, in technology, delivery, everything from e-commerce to school software, running a small business, running a larger business as a chief architect for a Reed Elsevier Group business. So I've covered off many different areas of technology. Demon is where I am now. I've been there for 6 years in total. I'm the head of engineering. We're pretty much full service consultancy. We were small. We're now probably medium-sized consultancy. We have clients in retail, finance, and we are really about cloud provision, system integration, anything digital engineering, and we have a fairly strong and growing AI ML part of the consultancy as well.
Awesome. Well, you've started out very early with the AI card. I always pride myself on not being the first to say AI, so I'm glad we've covered it off early, but we'll get to that. So you mentioned sort of obviously, certainly since COVID, sort of the provision of cloud services for so many organisations has gone through the roof, and the need for those the cloud services development. I know we've just been talking about it. So how have you seen sort of that? Yeah, we'll talk about the AI and ML stuff a little bit later on. But how have you seen sort of the cloud, the provision of cloud driving your business?
So I think that many of our clients have become cloud first. They are doing deals. So Microsoft and Sainsbury's, who's one of our clients, and they recently announced a deal around using Azure to give them the kind of AI honey that they need in their data, and that's really all around the masses of data that they gather about what they sell and their clients. That is a huge part of what is becoming really important for our business. Moulding together that cloud provision and the use of data. I think that one of the things that we concentrate on with new clients and when we're prospecting for clients is we do a well-architected review, specifically around AWS. We were for a long time an AWS only consultancy, but now we do Azure and a little bit of GCP as well. We are building out our competency around Azure to be able to do well-architected reviews. But on the AWS side, we often find that we may offer this to a client that's had a consultancy in, or they've done it themselves, and we find glaring holes in their security and the way that they've set up their AWS accounts, or way they have their software running, and also as part of that, we look at the costs as well, and they're normally paying a little bit too much, or a lot too much at times. And so that's one area where we're kind of like building out the business with that kind of advanced knowledge of how you should really set the cloud provision up. A lot of the time it's done ad hoc, and there's no real control. We bring that knowledge with us.
Yeah. How, I know you mentioned that you started off with sort of as providing one cloud, and now you've got sort of looking after multiple cloud environments. How important is having sort of that multi-cloud approach for you?
Well, our clients have gone multi-cloud. We even have clients that are doing server repatriation for their own reasons. So we have to be able to provide that. If we didn't go for the multi-cloud approach, we couldn't really square the circle and provide all the service we need. Our clients they view us as their trusted advisors. So if they have to go and find someone else to be a trusted advisor on something slightly different, it's a problem for them. They haven't got time to do that.
You want to provide the whole package.
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
And how, obviously, the cloud environments are incredibly dynamic. I know that there's, certainly from the world that I come in, training and certification, where I spend a lot of time updating labs with just sort of try and train individuals on sort of how they how they can utilize the cloud environments, which is an absolute nightmare. So how does how does that impact your delivery on your clients' environments?
So we pay a bounty actually for people to get certification with Azure and AWS, and we've just gone through an interesting process where we have the DevOps competency as one of our partner profile, as part of our partner profile with AWS, and we needed somebody to get the professional DevOps certificate to make sure we had the required number of certifications or certificates with AWS. I got my top guy to go at it, top software engineer we have, a principal engineer, and he said it's the hardest thing he's done. It was really hard because he's not necessarily a cloud guy, he's a software engineer. Yeah. So he does everything, and everything from commercials now, because that's the kind of, he's working at that level. But to go and learn that to pass the exam, he said, was really difficult. I was having a conversation with him just this morning because we were going to talk about DevSecOps. I said to him, how much security was involved in that? And he said, loads and loads. It was like almost all of it was all about landing zones and control tower. So we spend a lot of time training our people. So when they're on the ground using it, they really know what they're doing, and they're trying to do it to the latest AWS or Azure standard.
Yeah, and there's been a lot made out of supply chain attacks, and obviously what the training that you're putting with it, or the time that you're investing in training for your team, is going to be to ensure that those applications that you provide to your clients are extremely robust. So how often are you seeing failures in the supply chain for not necessarily for your clients, obviously, but how important is that is the supply chain becoming?
It's really important, and I can't really say, but some other large UK retailers have phoned us on a Saturday and said, "Can you help? Our greeting card thing is going offline now. We're in real trouble." And we've stepped in to help, and it's happened quite a few times. I think that some of the industries that we're in are still so bricks and mortar and so scared of getting into cloud because they see these massive security incidents where you have literally hundreds of millions of people's data stolen and out there and on the dark web, and they're just too terrified of being in that place. It's a great opportunity if we can help them, but it's a long journey to encourage them to be there. Also, I do believe that if people can keep it secret, they will do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's reasonably well documented across cyber attacks. So, and is there any sort of truth in the fact that having an on-premise solution is more secure? I know obviously clouds come on in leaps and bounds, but I still think it suffers from that sort of that stigma. Obviously, your organisation is at the forefront of ensuring that that's not the case. But is there an element? Should they be worried?
I think one of the things that we've seen is it's paring it down so you've got one thing. So you just have a large Kubernetes environment.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's none of all the other stuff on it. So it becomes much more traditional infrastructure and networking. You know, you've got one connection talking to a Kubernetes cluster, and there's not all of the other things that are involved in a cloud environment. The problems I've seen in some of our cloud environments where we haven't really concentrated hard enough on how we're necessarily building it is a lot of stuff gets turned on. The more stuff you turn on, and we don't, you know, there's a whole raft of things we don't actually need. Yeah. These things get turned on. They are a security risk. If something opens a connection to the internet, a port opens, that's an opportunity. We were using some mock servers to test some software. We had to have mock servers that you could, and it was a well-known mock server that a lot of people use. You have to expose them to the internet. It was to do some work with Amazon, just walk out. And they were found almost instantly by bad actors. So we'll better switch that off quite quickly. And then we had to build our own solution that we could make secure.
Yeah.
I think one of the things is that I've said to you previously is that we start thinking about security right at the beginning and then try not to do anything that will compromise us. And the other thing with the repatriation, the biggest driver is cost.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate driver.
Yeah. So we mentioned AI and machine learning stuff right at the start. So how is that coming in, and how is that going to impact your services to your clients?
AI has been with us for years. You know, we've been doing AI for a long time. We've had an AI practice in Demon for 7 years or more.
Wow.
The change, the kind of like the hump that they've gone over with large language models has kind of accelerated a lot of things. I think the thing for us is find a client that really knows what they want from AI. There's lots of ideas, and there's a number of very senior industry people for example, in retail that have talked about, out of 7 major AI projects, only one of them will actually be a success. They're all going to be up to, or around circa $500,000 to put into place because this stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
Cloud provision of AI is really expensive. People are setting up GPU-only cloud farms to host large language models to try and make money out of it. Basically, we've also experienced where we start off with a startup. We get them to a point where they then want to go more commercial, and they find that the cost of publishing this on AWS, for example, is prohibitive, and they can't go forward. I think that's the next hump to get over, is making cloud provision of AI cost effective. That possibly will happen where the larger companies, the enterprise people that want to do it as an enterprise kind of level, and I'm talking about, not just necessarily just a chatbot. We've had that sort of chatbot stuff for a while, but things that really make a difference. When they start to make those things work and they can pay for them, where there's a return on investment, and I think that will be the tipping point where it won't just be marketing anymore. Yeah. I'm convinced that 90%, maybe even 99% of AI stuff is just marketing.
Yeah.
A lot of it is machine learning and good use of data. But when real AI takes off, it will be because there's a return on investment and large businesses can make it work.
But is it we're going to end up in a situation where large businesses then have that competitive advantage over not that they wouldn't have a competitive advantage already, but they're leveraging that use of AI is going to put them sort of in stratospheric and out of the reach of the SME.
Yeah, well, we talked about Sainsbury's and the fact that they'd done a deal with Microsoft to particularly look at AI, and they're also, they're in they've just announced the deal with SAP, Accenture, and AWS to change out their retail management system to a SAP system. They have, one of the things they have is years and years worth of data that they can throw at AI. So they're big, they've got money, they've got big partners. You know, Microsoft is going to be like, Microsoft has got a lot of irons in the AI fire, as it were. And I think that the competitive advantage is definitely going to lie with those guys. There will be, I am sure, smaller, kind of more niche industries that start using it. For example, I've thought a lot about medical information and, you know, what does it mean for medical consultancy. That will come out of a startup of some description. It might use a large language model that is in the cloud, but I'm uncertain because of the cost, because of the cost effect.
Yeah. And obviously, you say you guys have been doing AI for several years now. Certainly, from my perspective, I've seen, you know, depending on which conference you've been to, certainly sort of, I say post-COVID, that sort of AI, call it a revolution or marketing revolution. It's been splashed over every cybersecurity product that's in existence. So, is it a little bit frustrating from your perspective, considering that you've been doing it for so long now, and that everyone is sort of jumping on the bandwagon?
For a little while. It's a little bit frustrating, but you know, that's technology anyway. You know, it's like I had my first client with a online bookshop in '98. You know, and we didn't have Amazon in this country then. We didn't. You couldn't buy books online. He done amazingly well, and then he sold it to some random publishing house that just shut it all down. You know, so I've been frustrated about many things in technology. AI is just the next one, but you know, there's a opportunity for us to get involved by, you know, our software engineering knowledge, our AI knowledge, and our cloud knowledge. And again, it's kind of not waiting. We are working with lots of startups. At some point, I'm hoping one of them will be the one that is the tipping point, the one that you know, that's the disruptor. Yeah.
And I know we're going back a little bit now in terms of, you mentioned how sometimes you get your clients come to you or you're not clients, you have someone who will call you up on a Saturday asking for help. How does that, let's sort of take the bit of a hypothetical situation, what does that look like from from that client's perspective? Obviously don't use names as, but what do you guys, how do you help in that particular situation?
That particular one was securing data, securing the infrastructure, backing the infrastructure up, you know, to make sure that nothing got lost, shutting it down, and then creating a strategy for how to get out of it and get back online. So there's the initial desperation of a Saturday evening.
Was it a ransomware case, or what was the?
It was like someone had cracked passwords, got in, and stolen data.
Okay.
So it was bad human activity of not having strong enough passwords.
Right. Okay.
Like I mentioned, the mock servers were found immediately by software that's looking for open ports and open IP addresses to attack and to use a computer. So this stuff is going on. These brute force attacks going on all the time. A brute force attack was successful and got in there, and then somebody started stealing data and changing passwords.
Yeah.
I think that it's a bit like technology projects. How many technology projects fail because of the technology? Very few. Yeah. They fail because of the people.
Yeah.
More often than not, because it could be the whole company, or it could just be the people trying to deliver it are not up to it. And so I think you're in this situation where the weakest link is the human. Interestingly, now we're bringing AI into code creation, and people are saying, well, in 5 years' time, we're not going to have software engineers, we're going to have prompt engineers that will prompt something to write software. I just flicked onto SonarCube's website on the way here on the train and noticed that they've got new modules to particularly look closely at AI created code. There's a lot of that's actually probably the part of the industry that's going to do quite well, is people that are writing software that will query other people's code for any AI stuff that shouldn't be there, copyrighted code, or
So I suppose the code that comes out is only as good as the input that they're
rubbish in, rubbish out.
Exactly. So, and that's, are you? And I suppose we're sort of segueing into sort of the future of cybersecurity here. So obviously, it's probably going to lighten your workload in terms of utilising tools, techniques that have come out of the sort of AI, I'll call it revolution, if we can be so bold. Is it going to make your, and we're talking about sort of rubbish in, rubbish out, is it going to make your life harder that you're essentially trying to unpick something which has been done poorly by through automation?
It's a really good question. So much automation gives you so much help. I think there's more upside than downside. When this really takes off, I mean, my principal consultants and our senior consultants that are writing code, they are almost as a one very anti bringing in too much AI into their actual code creation. They love it as a business enablement tool, around the actually writing the software, but they've got all these years of experience to make it work properly. If you start getting rafts of code created by AI and then checked by AI, you could get into a situation where there is stuff that needs to be unpicked, and then a human has to go in and unpick it, because in the end you need actual intelligence rather than artificial intelligence to understand what's going on. I think that probably the upsides of what it can do are great, and then the downsides, in my opinion.
So from my perspective, just looking at the use of ChatGPT and writing a little paragraph, I don't think I've ever had a paragraph back that I'm happy with. And I imagine it's compounded to an even greater extent when you're getting into something which is a lot more complex, say, certainly from my perspective, in terms of the complexity of writing code. And if you're writing hundreds of lines of code, I imagine it's quite painful to then go through with a fine-tooth comb rather than getting it right the first time.
Well, we've had code hints in our IDEs for years, and people really like them. They make them work how they want them to work for themselves. If you ask a piece of an AI thing that produces code for some code to do something, almost certainly you're going to have to rewrite parts of it. It could be inefficient, it could be incorrect, it could be unsecure. You could put it through your SonarCube or whatever you're using, and it could be spat back with, this is copyright code. I think there is a hump to get over if we want to use this. If we want to do this, there's a hump to get over to make it efficient in time-wise. Can you imagine somebody writes 1,000 lines of code and that's what they've been doing their entire career, so they know what they're doing? They might have a code libraries that they use. There might be a code library as part of the project. If they then go and get that 1,000 lines of code from some AI thing and have to deal with checking it, it changes their job, and it changes what they're actually doing. I think there's a journey. It will happen. It's going to happen. it's too good not to happen, isn't it? You know, it's like I edit everything I get out of ChatGPT, but I only edit it to make it sound like it came from me. That's the key.
Yeah. No, I think I understand that. But so you think we'll get to a stage where actually we're happy with what is, maybe it gets to a stage where it's behavioural and understand. Certainly from the written prose perspective, it understands how your particular style of writing. But from a code perspective, will it get to the stage where actually you can just take it for its, what comes out?
I think it will, but it's how you plug all of those different disparate parts together. That's the thing that that takes a human to understand. We've just done a project where we took a vendor's picking system, plugged it into a retailer, and the retailer has data is required in all sorts of different places, and data has to be brought in from all sorts of different places. How do you tell an AI engine of some description how to put that together? It's not going to be an impossible task years and years in the future, but at this point there's quite a huge manual human interaction to make all those bits sit together. And it's a SaaS solution, so it's sat on the internet somewhere, and you're actually writing everything to sit in AWS over here. And then there's another bit that happens to be in a store, and you have to make all those things talk together.
Yeah.
That takes humans to do, but one day there'll be a map of that a computer can understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what about your predictions for the future? We don't like to hold anyone to their predictions, but what does it look like from your perspective? What is cybersecurity going to look like? And you can choose your time period, or how you're looking. Whether it's you can come at it from a customer perspective, you can come at it from your product perspective. And what are going to be the key changes for you over the next few years?
Well, so as a company that writes a lot of code, and there's people that write a lot of code, I think education still is like one of the things that's been missing for many years, where you get software engineers that don't think of cybersecurity first. So it's not like I'm going to write this app. I'm going to think about how I write this securely. They write the app, and then later, it has penetration testing or whatever, and somebody tells them what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Whereas I want my engineers to write it securely from the start. So that's kind of like the first thing for me that's going on into the future now. I guess we've talked about AI. As we get 5 years in the future, I believe that there will be more and more software that is produced out of AI written code. And so then it's how do we train people, and as a business, how do we not lose out to huge overseas system integrators this time round? How do we produce those skills to be able to take that forward and still have people have meaningful careers in technology and meaningful a meaningful business, or a business that can survive. I think that my feeling is that the big disruptor has happened now, and from all the reading and listening to podcasts, we've got a while before something else really comes along and shakes it up.
Yeah.
And that's that general intelligence that can actually join the bits together across the internet and do the whole thing. I think probably I might have retired by that point. I'm not sure.
Well, it sounds like what's coming down the pipeline is reasonably exciting. It's not quite there yet, but it's not far. It's not far away from sort of having that joined up solution.
No, I don't think so. It is exciting. It's like we can't find enough people to do this anyway. To find the really good engineers that we employ, there's not enough of them. So if we want to keep delivering for everybody that's working in software to keep delivering, to get those really high quality engineers, and anything that can help in accelerating production is going to be exciting to us.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, Henry. Well, our time is unfortunately coming to an end, but we always like to give our guests the opportunity to give shout-outs, mention whoever they may like. Could be partners. Occasionally, people mention their wife and kids. But is there anyone in particular that you want to sort of give a shout-out to, or organisations you want to discuss?
I'd just like to say thanks to Demon for giving me one of the best jobs, or the best job I've ever had, probably, and my wife and children who came. We've just had the Demon Festival. They came on, which was a pretty tough day because the family pet had passed away in the morning. They came to the festival and watched me sing in the Demon Band. So thank you very much to Jackie and Kobe and Eden. The Demon Band. And one of the songs that we done which was a new song to me this time round, was a stereophonic song, Local Boy in the Photograph, which is about suicide. So I think I would like to just raise awareness of the Samaritans and suicide prevention, and just say that it's okay to not be okay, and if you're feeling down, to reach out to somebody.
Awesome. Yeah, lovely. Well, great, Henry. Thank you so much for coming on board. It's been lovely talking to you about Demon and all things DevSecOps, and including the band as well. You've even got a cheeky mention in there. But to everyone at home, thank you very much for watching. This has been the Cybersecurity Show. I've been Pip Blake, and you guys have been beautiful. Thanks very much.